Hello and welcome to another episode of the Central Florida Sportscast. I am Adam and I am joined as always by Eduardo and Danny. Hey guys, how's it going today?
What's up, buddies? Uh,
Hey, it's
Man,
me, buddy.
yeah, hit the S and the plural of buddies really hard there, Danny. I really liked that.
yeah, I wanted to make
thought there
sure
was
that I wasn't talking to one of you and then have that hanging over the whole show. Like, wait, who's the buddy?
which one. Yeah, which
Yeah,
one's
which
getting the
one's the
rose
buddy?
at the end of the episode? Yeah, so a lot has happened. And by a lot, I mean there has been a lot of emotions I've had to overcome this last week watching Orlando sports. So we're going to kind of go into what's been going on and try and talk some people off of hitting the panic button just yet, I think, because Orlando City lost their home opener, which is the first time that they have ever lost their home opener, 4-2 to the Philadelphia Union. Eduardo and I were there. We were on the wall. We went out. We had a cheeky drink before the game. We were hanging out with the lads. It was a great time. And Orlando decided to absolutely destroy the evening with what was a terrible, 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 terrible loss. Eduardo, I don't know if you realized this in the stadium because emotions were kind of all over the place. But the Philadelphia Union scored 4 goals.
Yeah, it was not ideal.
Mm-hmm.
The tough part was it was really good for the first 2 minutes.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes, it was.
Orlando looked like they were unbeatable. They were in attack mode. And then one thing went wrong, and then it was like a Three Stooges fest the rest of the way because it was just silly mistake after silly mistake by a few people. And I'll let you kind of take the lead here because there are a few people here that I'm ready to shake my fist at, but I'll let you kind of take that.
So, yeah, I wanted to, the Orlando faithful came out in full force, as they always do, with attendance of 22,689 fans there in Interco Stadium, which is about what I was expecting. Kind of excitement around the team is at a high. You know, we made the conference finals last year. I think before we go into individual player performances, I kind of want to go over the team's performance kind of as a whole and look at it holistically. The thing that first, I just got to get the elephant in the room is that Orlando City conceded 4 goals on 4 shots on goal. So that tells you everything you need to know about how the game went. Orlando City led in possession 55 to 45%. Expected goals, we led. We had 2.5 expected goals versus 1.83. So that tells you everything you need to know. We had 22 shots to their 11, and we had 9 shots on target to their 4. Orlando, on paper, should have won this game handedly. And I thought that we were going to run away with it in the 8th minute when Marco Pasalic drilled one in the back of the net. I thought, here we go. We have our DP winger. He's coming in. He's picking up where Facundo Torres left off. He's banging in goals, and we're having a great time. And that feeling would kind of subside. 15 minutes later, Ty Baribo knocked one in to make it 1-1. Going into the match, my prediction was a 2-1 Orlando City win. So we went into halftime. It was tied 1-1. Feelings were still pretty good. 3 minutes later, Daniel Gazdag, who's been a thorn in Orlando City's side since he's entered the league, knocked one home to make it 2-1. And then 3 minutes later, Orlando City was doing my least favorite thing in football, and they were playing out of the back. And I absolutely despise when teams play out of their back line because what ends up happening is you have the chance to make these stupid mistakes. And Facundo Torres plays a ball a little too hard off of his foot. He loses track of it. It falls right at the foot of a Philadelphia Union player who takes one step.
Rewind that. Who plays the ball too hard?
I'm sorry. Did I say Facundo Torres?
You did. I was like, he sure did not.
he's on my mind. I'm sure Facundo Torres is doing great wherever he is right now. It was
Rest his soul.
Rod. He's not dead. He's in South America. It was speaking of South Americans, though. It was Rodrigo Schlegel who's filling in. He was moved over from the left side to the right side to fill in because Robin Janssen took a knock in training right before the match. So during warm-ups, Janssen got hurt, so Orlando had to do some last-minute shuffling of the back line, which proved to be costly for Orlando City, and that's something else that we're going to discuss because, guys, and we've seen this with the Magic, but they've kind of weathered the storm, and I'm not ready to sound the panic alarm yet, but how important is Robin Janssen to this team that the minute he goes down, the back line looks completely lost?
It's really difficult because the back line looked really bad, and granted, a lot of them are playing out of position because Robin Janssen was moved out. That means you brought Schlegel back into center. You know, you've got Santos and Thorlassen on the wings, and everybody. It almost seems like almost everyone is playing out of position in that back line. However, in my opinion, and I am not like. Well, as a sports fan, I try really hard not to just say negative things about players because I find that a lot of the times it's really unproductive, and it's usually better to sort of celebrate the players that are doing well and then maybe talk critically about some of the things that the players could do better. There is no reason Rodrigo Schlegel should be your next man up to kind of lead the defense for this team. In my opinion, he's barely passable in his like tertiary role as a defender. Like he is not the next captain of this team. Like he was given the captain armband because Robin Janssen, got hurt, wasn't able to play, and he had no business. One of those goals was 100% his fault. Just an absolute carry of the ball. Brain. I just don't want to be mean, but it was very, very poor, and he just has no business being there. I think for a team like Orlando that prides itself on its defense, that prides itself on not allowing goals, to give up 4 to this Philadelphia Union team when you got 2 goals of your own. I was telling Adam during the game, if you would have told me going into this Orlando City scored 2 goals, I would have thought we ran away with it. Because that usually, if you've watched City for the past however many years, at least while Papi has been here, that's enough. Because while this team doesn't score at a high clip, they also do not allow scoring on the other end most of the time. But this it seemed uncharacteristic. And the most upsetting part is that every single one of the new guys, for the most part, looked great. Specifically, Pachulik, who looked incredible. He looked like the next great DP of the league. Like, he was incredible. In fact, I don't know if you noticed this. Because we were at the stadium, I didn't have a chance. We're too busy yelling obscenities to kind of chat too much about the game because we were so upset. It felt like they were almost looking him off at some points. Mm-hmm. I saw him call for the ball several times, and they just didn't look in his direction. And it felt like they were like, oh, we need to get the ball to Angulo, and then that is the only way we're allowed to initiate offense.
Yep.
And it feels like opposing teams know that. They know we're going to go up the right side or the left side, whatever side Angulo's on. They know we're going to go up that side. They know he's going to try to pull a cross in there. They know he's going to go really fast, but if you catch up to him, which they did several times, you're going to be able to get the ball away from him, and you're not going to be able to get a good enough cross in to score a goal. And it just felt like it was just so predictable over and over and over again. And both of the Pachulik goals, I didn't feel like they were like really great set pieces that we played it to perfection. It felt like they both happened in the scramble, And that's not a testament necessarily to the play being set up. That's a testament to a good player making a good play on the ball after, it's already been blocked once. And, it felt a lot more like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's really tough, man. It's tough for all of the guys that have kind of been here for a while to be the ones that perform so poorly, and all of these new guys that we're just getting in to be the ones that are actually doing really well.
Yeah, I want to go over some grades here, but before I do that, I kind of want to touch on a point that kind of makes this loss sting a little bit more. This was Bradley Carnell, who's Philadelphia Union's coach, his first MLS match as a coach. Their center back, I might butcher his first name, so I apologize. I'm sure he's listening. To Oluwathu Makehanya, who is South African. He's a 20-year-old center back. This was his first match in MLS. Jovan Lukic. This was 23-year-old Serbian center mid. This was his first match in MLS. So you have the spine of this team that is brand new. They have a brand new coach. And we weren't drilling down the middle of the field with the ball on these inexperienced players and scoring goals. It's just so frustrating to watch a team that you know that you are better than come in and dominate a game because of poor defensive performances. I mentioned going over some foot mob ratings for this match, and what's so funny is it kind of, with the exception of Enrique at the striker, who was invisible, which is a shame. You don't want to see that from your 23-year-old striker. It kind of looks like a gradient. The worst rated player was Pedro Gallese. There were a few goals I thought he could have stopped. Some of them weren't his fault. Not really much he could do. He was out of position for that Schlegel goal. But he wasn't expecting his center back to play the ball with a steel boot and knock it right to a Philadelphia Union player. So, I mean, I can't blame him for that. There could have been things he could have done to prevent that. But I've seen Premier League goalies, I've seen World Cup goalies make that mistake because you don't expect your center back to do something that wild, that's unpredictable. So he was caught out of position and they striked. So he is in the deep red, worst player. And then we move up to the back line. They are also the worst rated players on the team. The second worst player rated on the team, I'll let you take a guess. It's Rodrigo Schlegel with a 4.4. He turned the ball. He completed 92% of his passes, which is great because they don't count that one ball against him. But he had 76 touches in the match. He turned the ball over 4 times. So his match wasn't awful from a pure statistical analysis. But that's why it's so important to kind of, I hate the phrase of the statistics don't mean anything. You have to watch ball. I think that there's a world where both things can be true. And statistically, Rodrigo Schlegel, with the exception of his one fatal error, played a okay game. But that one error led to a goal. So when you're a defender and your job is to prevent goals, if you are directly responsible for a goal, that was a terrible, terrible game.
That's
Sorry.
a demerit.
Yeah, that's one way to get benched, which hopefully Robin Janssen returns soon, and Rodrigo Schlegel can go back to providing support off of the bench. At Tuesta, I wasn't too impressed with. He really was invisible most of the match. He got subbed off. He had a couple nice passes. He created one chance in the 43rd minute, I believe. It looked pretty decent, but Pasalic was truly the star of the game. He was the highest rated player for either team with a 9.2. His expected goals was over 1. He completed the most dribbles in the game. He hit the woodwork once. He also had the least amount of touches of any forward player on either team.
And it felt that way, right? It felt like for some reason they were just not looking to him. And hopefully these 2 goals and how well he played in this game kind of starts to open up people's eyes. But it's probably going to take a little while for people to start to look at him like they. You know what? Part of it is also Facundo Torres and his style of play. And his style of play was exactly what they're doing here. Facundo Torres was not someone who could get you in the middle ground here and kind of set you up. And he didn't have that part of his game. He was a goal scorer. He was a pure goal scorer. That is what he did. And so it would make sense for them to kind of not really look at him in the middle area and instead only look at him for goal scoring opportunities. But Pasalic is not that player. He is a much more creative, much more like involved in the offense type of player. He is not just a goal scorer. And if that's the case, then you need to look at integrating him into the offense. This offense needs to evolve. For a team that I think in general with under Papi has been kind of like, it has always been a problem. The offense has always been a problem, but you can kind of see the bright spots. Another bright spot, and the FootMob rating doesn't kind of give him the love that I thought he kind of needs, but I was actually kind of impressed with the minutes we got out of Nicolas Rodriguez. Like, I think he was, he wasn't out there for a crazy amount of time. He didn't get, a ton of run out there, but I thought when he got the ball, when he was put in for Angulo and he got the ball, that ball stuck. There would be defenders coming after him, and the ball just kind of stuck to his feet, and he was able to kind of keep people off of him in a way that I haven't seen. That was like the opposite of a lot of kind of what we saw in that game. We saw a lot of people lose 1v1s in that game, just kind of over and over and over again. And during that, it was nice to see somebody actually protect the ball.
I know, and it was so funny watching for both teams where I felt like nobody was ever really in control of the ball. Like, there was no like, oh, okay, when this player has this ball, he's going to win off the dribble, he's going to create a chance. Like, for either team, it looked kind of like they were just like ping-ponging the ball back and forth until somebody got it was like watching like youth soccer. Like, everyone's chasing the ball and that's all they're doing, and finally somebody gets free enough to take a shot at goal. Which is, it's a different style of play. I got a chance to watch a lot of the MLS matches this weekend. Kind of walked through and watched a lot of replays. And I want to call out a player. Not because I think Orlando needs to sign them, because I don't think Orlando can or will, and also he plays for Miami. But Sergio Busquets.
Lionel Messi.
Lionel Messi. Sergio Busquets, who played with Lionel Messi. He's a Spaniard, 36 years old. And he plays like a 36-year-old. He is moving half a mile a minute down the field. It is like watching someone drag an anvil across a soccer field. It is absolutely brutal to watch. If you're like a fan of pace and like high-speed soccer, you're going to hate this guy. But he has the ball glued to his boot, and you cannot take the ball off of him. I mean, he was literally just like jogging down the field. He got fouled 5 times because people didn't know what to do with him. He would dump it off quick for a pass, and then he did that like 2 or 3 times. It was like watching like a really good basketball player do like a stutter step, and then they dish the ball out, and then you're like, okay. And then finally he gets one where he stutters, the defender bites, and he just dribbles past him for like an easy layup. It was like watching him all night. Like he would march down the field really slow and then pass the ball off. He did that like 3 or 4 times. And then finally the defender jumped to try and get the pass, and Sergio just like jogged past him. I'm like, okay, here I go. And created a great chance off of that. And I just felt like Orlando City was kind of missing somebody that could slow the game down in possession and like really like kind of demand some attention from the defense. I feel like without a player like that, and I think Robin Janssen does a really good job of that, which is why it was so frustrating to not watch him there. I saw a statistic last year. I think he was the most efficient passer from the back line, like past midfield. So like when Orlando pushes up and they get the ball to Robin Janssen, he finds his guy. So we were kind of missing some of that, but I think Pasalic did a great job. I think I'm not ready to hit the panic button yet. one game is rough, but the points count just as much at the end of the season as they did at the beginning of the season. You don't want to buy too much into the narrative after one game. I want to give it 3 or 4 weeks before I start kind of making like okay, here's what this team needs. But what do you guys think? Are you guys ready to hit the panic button yet? Or do you think that this team needs a few more weeks to gel and to be evaluated?
I think one game is a very small sample size, so I would not be hitting any panic buttons for sure. I have a fun fact. Uh, the 8th-minute goal is the fastest in any Orlando City home opener, and
Ooh,
also the fastest for a goal for a club debut in
ooh.
MLS history.
Oh, that is a fun fact, and you could tell even with those facts, you could kind of feel. I know you weren't there, Danny, but that's kind of what the stadium felt like. Like when he scored in the 8th minute, we were like, "Let's go!
Yeah,
This guy's great. We're winning the cup. No one can beat us." And then
Just
the wheels fell
Philadelphia.
off. Yep.
Only loss of the season, undefeated from here on
Yeah.
out.
Hey, listen, I would take it. How about you, Eduardo? How are you feeling?
I'm not hitting the panic button yet. I am a stout not hit a panic button, perhaps maybe even farther than most people are willing to go. However, it does feel like, one, Robin Jansen's very important to this team, and two, City needs some depth signings, because if the play continues like this from some of these guys that you've had on the roster for a little while, you need guys that are going to get in there and step up. Alex Freeman did a great job in his minutes when he came on for Santos, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he did great in those minutes. There, you have something there. Look in there. Luis Muriel, honestly, didn't look as bad as he had looked previously. Now, did he look incredible? No. But he was better than what we had kind of going out there. So I think some depth is needed. I think there needs to be more. It feels like everyone, and maybe I'm reading into the situation wrong, but it feels like everybody in their spot right now is very confident that they're not going to lose their spot. That's what it feels like. It feels very complacent for some of these guys. And I think some of them need a fire lit under them to let them know, hey, your spot can be gone tomorrow, and you need to play like it.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree completely. I think that the team kind of looked like they lacked fire. They kind of played complacent, which, is not going to win you a lot of matches. That's the beautiful thing about Major League Soccer is, for the most part, any team can beat any team every single week. There's so much parity in the league that if you get complacent and you play lazy, like I feel like Orlando looked at times this past Saturday, you're going to get killed. Is what's going to happen. The season's a grind, and you're going to get killed. So I completely agree. I think some depth signings would be fantastic for the team. I think that the season's long. Not ready to hit the panic button, but I think it creates some interesting storylines going forward with, do we have the next great DP in Orlando and Pasalic, and what does the future of Orlando look around him? Moving elsewhere, UCF Basketball picked up a big win, Danny, didn't they, this last week?
They did, yes. It was a much-needed win over Utah. And I don't know if you saw it all. They tried... Well, okay, in the first half, they went down by 11 pretty quickly, fought their way back, took a lead, were up by 10 in the second half. And then with a minute to go, it was tied again. So they fought back from a big deficit just to lose that lead that they got. But huge layup from Darius Johnson in the last few seconds to go up 4 and keep the lead. Or no, sorry, they went up 2 and then kept that lead in the last 20 seconds. So as we said last week, they pretty much need to win out to have a shot at making the tourney. So first step was a success. They got Kansas State tomorrow night. So keep on rolling. They are I keep seeing different bracketology accounts on Twitter, and there was one that had teams by conference, and then they're like less than 1%, but not eliminated. There was UCF, so
So you're
there's
saying
a
there's a chance.
there's a slight window. I see a path. But yeah, it just basically win. Just win, baby, as we say on the podcast.
That's our
Our
famous saying.
trademark
Our
originated
trademark
here.
saying. Just win, baby.
But yeah, that's all I got. They've only played the one game since our last episode, so not too much going on. We'll see how many they've played by the next time we record, and if I can say there's a chance or if they're dead.
Was that is that their last regular season game? Is the Kansas State game?
No, there's three more. TCU, Oklahoma State, and West Virginia.
Okay.
So Kansas State and Oklahoma State are at home, and they're at TCU and at West Virginia. So 2 home, 2 road. Not going to be easy, but those are all mid to bottom tier conference teams. So there's, it's possible.
Close it out strong.
Yeah.
Get some momentum going into the conference tournament.
Yeah.
I think, make a run.
Yeah, they're up to 13th now. They were 14th last time we checked in, so in the conference. So moving up a little bit at least. We'll see. They are 1 game back on Cincinnati, 2 on Kansas State, 2 on So the Oklahoma State's they're tied record-wise with Oklahoma State. 2 behind Kansas State and West Virginia, and 3 behind TCU. So all their opponents are like right in the stack there. So get some wins and pull ahead of a few of them. They can maybe get up to 9th if things fall right. Going to require some losses from those teams, but I mean, pretty big jump. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think that the important thing with UCF is obviously you're fighting for seeding at this point. You kind of want to get a favorable seed. The 9 would be fantastic. There's you're going to have to correct me because I'm always going to mess this up. How many teams are there currently in the Big 12?
Big 12, there are 16, of course.
Oh, of course. That makes perfect sense to me. There are 16 teams in the Big 12. So you kind of fight for that 9 seed. Get that 8. Would it be an 8-9 game at that point? 116, 215. I'm not going to do the math in my head. I'm going to make a fool of myself.
No, it is. It's 8-9.
Okay, so it would be an 8-9. Yeah, that 8-9 game's very winnable, and then of course you have the daunting task of playing the 1 seed after that. So I think that this team is kind of setting themselves up to break our hearts more dramatically.
Yep, that sounds about right, actually.
To be a Central Florida sports fan.
Yeah. Oh, what a time to be alive. I want to go back and splice episodes of the first episode, portions of the first episode where things are on the up and up for Orlando right now. With the Magic look like they're rolling. Orlando City's winning in the playoffs. The Pride look good.
Well, hey,
yeah,
one of those turned out okay.
Yeah, one of those turned out great. But I think that we knew this was going to happen when UCF moved up to the Big 12. There was going to be some growing pains.
Absolutely.
So I think it'll be interesting to look back 2, 3, 4 years from now about where this team is, both in football and basketball. I'm a little more optimistic about the football program than I am the basketball program. But I would love to know your thoughts, Eduardo, Danny. If you had to put money down now, 5 years from now, who do you think is the more successful program? And I'll let you define success any way that you want. Do you think it's going to be the football program or the basketball program?
Football.
That's really tough.
I would say football. I just think that I feel better about the direction of the football team. I know that they're kind of coming off of a downward trajectory. But I don't know. We've been kind of not. Some of us are a little bit more optimistic about the football team's future with the with Scott Frost than others here, I'll say. So I do think that will they reach the heights that they had the first time around? I don't think so. However, I do think that they will be more competitive in the Big 12 um, going forward, which puts them in position for more postseason success. I think the basketball team needs to elevate in that way. Um, Obviously, right now we're near the bottom of the pack, and I think it's harder to, I don't know. There's a lot of good programs in basketball, I would say more so than in the football um, side of things. You have obviously Kansas is always going to be, you know, they're Kansas, they're a blue blood. You have Iowa State, who's been really successful lately, Houston, who's been really successful. Um, so I think it might be harder. Arizona has had success recently. I think it's maybe if you're looking at the football programs, obviously Texas and Oklahoma were the big dogs in the conference. They're gone. I think in football, it's more. I think it's easier to see where any given program could have like a spike year and have a really successful
Mhm.
year. It's kind of harder to see that. Granted, in basketball, a lot more teams make the postseason, so there's always once you're in, who knows what's going to happen. Um, but I do think football is probably going to be easier for them to have a presence in the conference.
I would definitely agree with that. I think especially I love the point that you brought up about how, it's going to be harder for them to kind of reach the heights that they did the first time with Scott Frost, especially now. Since they did win a national championship with Scott Frost the first go around, it's going to be a lot harder for them to win the 12-team playoff. So it's not impossible. It's not impossible. I'm just glad that doorway was opened up to them. No, but I'm cautiously bullish on UCF football. I think it's going to be kind of important. And again, we had this conversation a few episodes ago to be realistic about what defining success for your sports teams. Not every season is going to end in a trophy, as much as you would love that. We all can't be fans of Northeastern professional sports teams and just get handed trophies every single year for no reason.
And then randomly pick the one hockey team that was gonna three-peat. Like, are you
Hey,
kidding
they only
me?
two-peated.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
sorry, my bad.
I joined the. It wasn't even a bandwagon because they were bad when I started watching them.
Insane.
I
And
worked
then
hard.
Danny, can
I
you
worked
become a
hard for
true
that.
Magic fan so the Magic can win 6 championships in a row?
Hey, I have a hat.
That would be.
Okay,
He does.
we're on our way.
He does have a hat. That is we
I
count
wore it
that.
yesterday. Even.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah, let's go.
I think the reason I think football will prevail, will be more successful in a few years over basketball, is because I think the organization and the school in general almost prioritizes football.
Yeah,
I think they
that's
see football as more of a place for them to I think they will not give up on football. I think it would take a scrappy underdog Cinderella run of a March Madness run to kind of get the eyes on a UCF basketball program that would then need to continue having success for a couple years for them to be oh, okay, maybe we should become more of a basketball, maybe we should move our focus to basketball. But I think for now, their focus is on making UCF a football school. So I think I have more confidence in them going out and acquiring things to improve the football program before they improve the basketball program.
Yeah, no, I think those are great points, and I think that football being the revenue generator that it is, it makes sense, especially for a school like UCF that has so much talent, football-wise, in the state of Florida. Yeah, it would just make sense to improve some facilities, make my dream reality of rebuilding the bounce house come true, make it a little more of a luxurious place to go and watch a football game, but also keep the tickets accessible and cheap.
Before
anything else?
Yeah, before we move on, I need to issue a correction.
Okay.
As we were talking about the Big 12 conference tournament, I was thinking, let me double check, because I know conferences usually have buys built into the tournaments, and they do, of course, with 16 teams.
Of course.
There is the first top 4 seeds get a double bye, 5 through 8 get a bye. So we have 13-12, 16-9, 15-10, and 14-11 are the first round matchups.
Okay.
So,
okay.
So it's very possible that UCF will play one of these teams they had in the last 5 games in the first round of the conference tournament. Since it's all the lowest tier, I'd say.
And it's only one bye, correct?
So for teams 5 through 8, it's one bye, and then 1 through 4 get
2 byes.
2 byes, yeah. Their earliest game would be quarterfinals.
That sounds much more sane than,
I was thinking it's like that's a lot of games for
than the Sun Belt. Have you guys seen the Sun Belt basketball bracket?
Yes.
As a fan of a Sun Belt school, this shit's wild. Okay, Eduardo, I'm not going to, we're not going to go too much into this because there is no Sun Belt school that we talk about here in Central Florida, but basically the 1 seed and the 2 seed both get buys all the way up into is it the semifinals?
What?
The 1 seed and the 2 seed in the Sun Belt conference basketball tournament get buys until the semifinals. So the team that they're playing will have played. Okay, let's back this up. So the 11 seed plays the 14 seed, and the 12 seed plays the 13 seed. And then every round after that, you add the next 2 higher seeds. So the 10 seed and the 9 seed play the winners of those games. And then the winners of those games play the 8 seed and the 7 seed. And the winners of those games play the 6 seed and the 5 seed. And so on and so forth. So basically, if you're the 1 seed or the 2 seed, you just need to win 2 games and you win the conference tournament.
You also get like frozen out for like weeks?
Well, it's only a few days.
It's a few days.
Yeah.
So if you're an 11, like a 14 seed, you're playing. If you to win the tournament, you would be playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games in 7 days.
Yeah.
Sheesh, brother.
The 14 seed would have to beat number 11, 10, 7, 6, 3, 2, and then the winner of the 1 seed versus the other half of the bracket.
It's a flying V. They've created a flying V in the
bracket looks like a greater than sign.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
It's the most wild thing humanly possible.
But no, Tuesday, March 4th through Monday, March 10th. Games every day.
Oh God, Jesus! God bless college basketball coming up. We'll have some great conversations about March Madness as that's happening. But moving on from UCF, we're gonna go over to the Kia Center. But before we talk about the Orlando Magic, I do want to bring up real quick the Orlando Solar Bears. They're creeping their way up the standings. But I do have a fun fact for you guys. We're not going to go too much into game by game with the Solar Bears because it is incredibly difficult to watch Solar Bears games because I don't have Flow Sports and I'm not paying for that. So I find illegal streams to watch whenever I can, or I follow their Twitter. Did you guys know that the Orlando Solar Bears have gone to overtime in 7 of their last 9 games?
It's a lot of hockey.
What?
Yeah, they just refuse to lose in regulation. And it's so funny because I think they're like 3-4 in those 7 overtime games. So it feels like they're just like inching their way up the standings. Like if they would win half of these games, they would have already overtaken the 5 seed in the Eastern Conference. But they're just slow.
Has the same standing system as the NHL, right? Overtime losses.
I believe. Yes, it
Okay,
does.
So at least they're getting
something
in each game. Yeah.
Yep, they're getting something. So it's crazy. They're also on their break right now. I believe it's the ECHL All-Star game. So the next time you can see the Orlando Solar Bears is tomorrow, actually. As of recording, Wednesday, February 26th. They played their last game last Thursday, which was a 4-1 loss to the Jacksonville Icemen.
This is crazy. I'm looking at the standings. They've played 56 games. The teams ahead of them have played 52, 50, 51, 52, and 50. And then the next highest in the rest of the standings is 54 games. Why have they played so many?
I have no idea why they front-loaded the schedule like this. So that doesn't bode well for them making the playoffs if the Wheeling Nailers have 6 games in hand.
Yeah, that's so funny. I'm looking at 10 overtime losses.
Yeah, isn't that what? I mean, the next highest team. Well, I guess that team has 7. Is the Reading Royals. But they're way down there in the standings.
I've been to one of their games.
Oh, have you really?
Reading, Pennsylvania.
Oh, nice. Well, now I'm going to get hate mail for calling it Reading when it's Reading.
My
hey, Reading's home of
the Fightin'
Reading's
Phils,
home of the Fightin' Phils.
Yes.
Yeah, I know all about the Fightin' Phils.
Yeah, I've been to a few of their games too.
But no, we're going to go back over to the Kia Center to talk about your Orlando Magic with Eduardo.
Boy, it's been an interesting time for the Magic since we last spoke. We've only spoke, we talked a few days ago, so it hasn't been that much going on. That night, the Magic that we recorded that episode, the Magic lost to the Grizzlies 105-104. It was a really, really, really frustrating game that the Magic had a 19-point lead in during the third quarter that they squandered away into a 1-point loss in a game where they missed 10 free throws. One of those games that you are going to look back on at the end of the season and say, we should have had this one. They then go on to destroy the Wizards. They really kind of marked their own and said, hey, we're not going to, let this Wizards team, who is really, really bad and is sitting half their players, do anything this game. And that's kind of how that game went. And they're in the middle of getting blown out by the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight. Now, I want to say, as much as the blowout of the Cleveland Cavaliers probably hurts right now, it should be noted that the Cavaliers look like a basketball machine at this point. They look insane. Everywhere you look in the way that they play around their stars is exactly what Orlando wishes they had. There is no one on Orlando right now that can make the kind of contested threes that guys that are not their main guys are making right now. There is no one in Orlando, not a single player that can make contested threes. There are barely any players that can make wide open threes. And so it is becoming increasingly clear that this team has a personnel issue, that you need to get the right players around Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner, that you need an extra scoring punch. Obviously, losing Jalen Suggs has really hurt. You did not anticipate that Kentavious Caldwell-Pope would go from a 40% three-point shooter to a sub-30. I think on paper, that was a good signing. However, it has shown that in practice, at least this season, it has not lived up to what we all thought it was going to be. So I think there are going to be some moves that are going to need to happen in the offseason. I think there are a few players that it's probably time Orlando moved off from, and I think there are a few players that still have lots of potential, but I think Orlando should move off from. I want to throw something out there to you guys that I think is pretty evident to me and the way that I see the game and the way it's played and the way this player likes to play. And I want to know what your guys' thoughts. I think that the Orlando Magic should move on from Anthony Black this offseason. I find that it's so interesting. I see your face, Adam. So I want to kind of explain myself before we kind of get into this. So I think Anthony Black is a good player. I think he is a good player, but I think his skills are too duplicitous with Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner, and I think he doesn't do enough different to warrant being if we were looking for the point guard of this team, it cannot be Anthony Black. because what Anthony Black does best is, put his head down, get to the rim, tough finishes. He can shoot the ball if you leave him wide open, but he's not necessarily a shooter. He has shown flashes in playmaking, but once again, if you want the ball to be in Paolo and Franz's hands most of the time, is Anthony Black really the kind of the engine that you want to kind of go through? You look at what Cleveland has done, and Cleveland is a wonderful example of what Orlando should go out there and be looking for as far as other players to kind of surround them with. You surround them with players like like a Ty Jerome, who's having a wonderful season. They went out and got DeAndre Hunter, splashing threes against the Magic. Everybody on the Cavaliers can shoot right now, so it is creating so much room for their stars that they don't have, are they losing by 40?
Yes.
I think they're losing by 40 right now. Just absolutely insane.
42.
Yeah, they're losing by 40. 42? Okay, they're losing by 42 points. Just an absolute. And I'm sure at this point they don't have anybody in the game anymore. I'm sure they took their starters out quite a bit ago. But either way, a 42-point loss is insane for this team. For a team that took this Cleveland team to 7 games last season, they look like a different team. And I think some of the subtractions that we made kind of really hurt us. Joe Ingles, for all of his oldness, was a 40% three-point shooter. Both Jonathan Isaac and Wendell Carter were shooting way better. You wanted KCP to be better. He's not. And so I think we need to look towards the offseason. Now, let me go back to the Anthony Black thing because I want to hear what you guys have to think or have to say. So I think Anthony Black just stylistically doesn't fit with the kind of the team and what it wants to be moving forward, and probably what it needs to be to kind of reach its apex of what this team could be if you assembled the right team around Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner.
Yeah, I would say you probably have a few people that are untouchable. Paolo and Franz, obviously a few more, but you gotta change something up. Like you said, it's a personnel issue. The 3-point shooting is abysmal, and it's not gonna fly. Just like the shots are not. They're flying.
No, they're
but,
flying.
Well, that's just how things are going. Things that are flying are not necessarily landing where they should be these days. So,
Is that political commentary?
It's current events. I lost my train of thought. Yeah. So you need to, if like you said, Anthony Black's his skill set is Paolo Franz, but not as good.
Yeah.
Why is he he's not key going forward? So you need to find a way to flip some of these players into better fits, revamp the roster, kind of modernize your offense, or at least get people that are capable of hitting threes. So you can compete. I'm looking at the stats of the game right now. Cleveland currently are shooting 19 of 32 on 3-pointers, and the Magic are 5 of 27. You're never going to, very rarely will you win a game with that split.
Well, and I will also add, you're not going to win the game with the way the Magic are shooting. And to be honest with you, specifically in terms of this game, you're not going to win the game when the opposing team is shooting as well as they are. Those are both opposite sides of a spectrum. But even at the Magic, at least the way they're currently constructed, even at their best night, they still were not going to beat this Cavs team if they're shooting this well.
Yeah,
it wasn't going to happen. But to your point, it can't be that bad. It cannot be. And you need to change up the kind of players that you have around Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner. You have to. There's just it is so glaringly obvious at this point. And I am still of the proponent of you needed to kind of see what you had, and you still have plenty of time too. You've got 20 games. We still have not seen Paolo Franz and Jalen Suggs on the court all together for an extended period of time. And so you really don't know what that starting lineup at the very least has. But the personnel changes they're pretty clear. And I think Anthony Black is a clear point of upgrade. I would add also probably Jonathan Isaac as another point of a player that I think I am ready to kind of move on from. I don't think what he brings defensively is enough for what this team needs, especially because there are so many good backup power forwards in this league that could back up Paolo and be another, presence out there for us. You think of a Cam Johnson. You're not getting a Cam Johnson and fitting him in this team with Jonathan Isaac still out there. The roles duplicate themselves. If you're going to tell me that Jonathan Isaac is going to turn into the backup center for this team and has really worked on his post game and that is the type of role that he's going to be, I'm with you. But if the current role that he has is the backup four and sort of this like Swiss Army knife defender that also is supposed to spot up and shoot threes, I'm just not with it. And I just think stylistically some of these guys just kind of don't fit anymore. Adam, you gave me the face when I said Anthony Black. I want to hear it. Let's go.
I don't fully disagree with you. That hurts me as a Razorback fan.
Oh no.
Can you not hear me?
This is my fault.
I hear you.
Hey, Danny, can you hear him? Okay, I can't hear anything now. Uh-oh.
It's because you didn't
No,
want to hear me.
Uh-oh.
You didn't want to hear the truth that I'm about to drop. No, I don't disagree with you. I like Anthony Black's game. I do not see the Orlando Magic being a team that will make a deep run in the playoffs with Anthony Black as the starting point guard. I think that's definitely a position that we need to upgrade. I think we need a point guard that can facilitate and shoot a little bit better than Anthony Black, kind of space the floor out a little bit. Paolo and Franz have a very similar skill set that works for forwards, and they play off of each other extremely well. But I think adding Anthony Black to that mix is you're kind of putting all of your eggs in one basket. So I think it's not a terrible move. I think that he is on such a cheap contract on his rookie deal. He has 3 years left. I think we're paying him like $7.5 million a year. I think the time to move him is now because I don't think that otherwise his value is too high. So I would be really interested to see what kind of package we could get for him. Because you obviously want to move him while he's still on his rookie contract because that's when his value is the highest.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm sure there are a lot of teams that would take Anthony Black as their backup point guard for $7.5 million. So I want to propose that the Detroit Pistons subreddit got it right. And there was a terrible, terrible accident. And it triggered the draft for players. And every team can protect 5 players. Which Orlando Magic 5 are you protecting for the future, Eduardo and Danny?
I think
You can only protect 5.
Only 5.
Okay.
And I want you to think now and the future.
Sure.
I want you to think, yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, obviously, Paolo, Franz.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree. Those are the first 2 off
I think
the board.
Jalen Suggs has to be there. You're paying him too much money. I think he's too important to the future of the team. I think he's also one of the more valuable players on the team in terms of like a trading aspect. Like if you were going to trade someone, Jalen Suggs would be your biggest trade piece, not named Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner. I think those 3 are set in stone. The fourth player, maybe I'm out of reach here, especially because of the injury, but I feel like it's Mo Wagner. Like,
okay.
I think if he continues his play from this year where he was basically playing at a 6-man of the year level, I'd probably pick Mo Wagner. I would then also probably still pick Anthony Black from an asset preservation perspective because I think he is an asset. I also, I really like Tristan da Silva and I really like his game and I would be really upset to lose him. And so that's kind of where I run into the sort of the issues here because I really like Tristan da Silva, his game. I think he fits roster-wise what we want to do. And I think if Orlando was constructed a little better, I think we'd be able to optimize what he can do more. But I think he's currently sort of being asked to do more than probably what he should. And now I'm looking at the roster, and man, there are not a lot of guys on here that I'm like, man, I need to have this guy. There are a lot of guys in Orlando right now that I'm like, I think I could move on from this person. Like Cole Anthony, I could move on from him. Goga Batadze,
Yeah.
I like him, but I could move on from him. Wendell Carter, definitely. Gary Harris, for sure. Caleb Houston, yep. Jonathan Isaac, yep. Corey Joseph, who cares? Yeah, I mean, like, there are several rotation players that I think Orlando probably should move on from. And I think this offseason, you're going to see, hopefully, at least 3 new rotation players for Orlando.
I agree with that. I think my 5 is probably Franz Paolo, Anthony Black, Jalen Suggs, and Tristan Da Silva. Yeah. I love Mo Wagner's game, but I think you can go out and get somebody to kind of fill that role.
Sure.
I think he plays really well, but I don't think he's anything that would be hard to replace.
Yeah.
Danny, what does your list look like? Just signing Mac McClung 5 times?
Yeah, I mean, why don't you just dunk it every play?
Yeah.
It's so easy for him. He can jump over anybody.
If we just had cars on the defense, we let Toyota Camrys play defense on our end.
I love this. I love this new game we're creating. Yeah. So obviously, like I said, Paolo and Franz 1 and 2. I would agree with Jalen Suggs. Now and then, obviously, in this scenario, like you're not losing every other player, so it's more of just like a who do you want to protect. So I don't think I would protect Anthony Black. You can always work out a deal. This is like what Vegas did when they had their the like expansion draft in the NHL. Mm-hmm. They were like wheeling and dealing, like, hey, we might have eyes on this player. So why don't you just trade us this other guy instead, and we'll give you something. So it's kind of like a threat of like, you didn't protect this guy, we might end up taking him. How about you just give us somebody else and we'll move on type deal. So then the team could get something in return, and that's how they ended up with a Stanley Cup finalist roster in year 1. Anyway,
finalist, not champion roster in year 1.
Yeah, that's close.
Go Caps.
Go Caps. So yeah, I would say, and I don't know everybody's contract situations off the top of my head, so probably not getting the most optimal answer here, but I would say Tristan Da Silva. I know he's a rookie this year, right?
Yep.
Or yeah, so keep him, and then you know what? Maybe it would be Anthony Black. Looking at that was a good point you had with like just the asset management. So all right. Very
he lives to see another day.
He lives to see another day. His days are numbered, but
yeah. 3 years. I think the Orlando Magic could also do like a reverse Vegas thing, where when teams are calling about players, we threaten to also send them Gary Harris.
He's just gonna show up, and
we gave him your address. We gave him your address. He won't play, but he will be on your roster, filling a spot.
Just have like the bindle, like that ant.
Yeah. But no, I can we get a score check real quick?
That's over.
We were down 40.
It was a 40 point.
It was a 40
Thank God. Oh God. Okay. No, yeah. What can you say? This team is kind of. I'm starting to get a little more down with every passing game of a team that's not named Washington or Charlotte. Because we handle Washington and Charlotte fairly well. And the rest of the NBA, we kind of, especially teams in the East, I feel like every time we play one of the top tier teams in the East, we kind of shit ourselves, which is, they are better teams than us, but, it's hard to watch teams do better than you, the things that you were kind of hoping your team does.
Yeah, the issue for Orlando right now, and I truly believe this is the issue, is that their shooting is so bad that it has begun affecting other parts of their game. They don't look like the same defensive team anymore. They don't look like the same energy team anymore. And it is because their offense, because specifically the shooting, is making it so that other defenses can play defense. Like, the defensive game plan against Orlando is incredibly simple right now. It is double, triple team Paolo and Franz, wall the paint, dare them to shoot, and then Orlando will shoot 5 of 20. And that's like an easy way to win every single team is doing the same thing over and over and over again. You either shoot your way out of the slump like at the end of the season, or you decide at the offseason we need to acquire new players and we need to get more shooting in this team. But that also goes for Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner. Both of them, like I've talked to you guys about multiple times, need to become at least competent shooters for this team to really kind of reach its next level.
Yeah, they were 1 of 7. Paolo's 1 of 7. Franz was 1 of 3 today.
Yeah, and that's not good enough. I mean, it just isn't.
No. Well, hey, I have. Do you have anything else you want to say about?
No.
About a 40-point loss. No,
I'm just
good.
sad.
Well, I got a little notification from the Athletic today. I don't know if either of you subscribe, but there's an article about Caleb Houston, who is the tallest player in the NBA to have never dunked in a game.
Yeah. So that's a stat that I've been watching for a little while. Magic fans have kind of known about this for a little while, and I think it's finally been picked up nationally. But yeah, he's one of the only players that's never dunked, and there have been a couple games where he is almost dunked, and then he either passes out of it, or like there was a game like 3 or 4 games ago where he missed the dunk, or I think it got blocked, and everybody was like, no, like he finally was going to get his dunk.
Yeah, there was a clip of his rookie season. Robin Lopez just got a finger on one of his few attempts and blocked it. But I thought, I feel bad. But he was quoted in this article saying, "I never really had the opportunity to dunk. Most of my shots are threes." It's just like, man, most of your shots are threes? What have you been doing?
Something you never want to hear an Orlando Magic player say. Most of my shots were threes. Oh, so most of them didn't go in. That's okay.
Hey, he can dunk in warm-ups though. So
he chooses not to out of respect though.
Yeah, it's too flashy.
Yeah.
You know.
He really misses when the game was played in a peach bucket. Like,
yeah.
Really, really old school basketball.
In completely different news that isn't sports related at all, did you guys see that John Lithgow is going to play Dumbledore in the Harry Potter series?
Yeah.
What?
Famous English actor, Jonathan Lithgow.
To be fair, Lithgow United sounds like a really really good a really good Welsh League 2 team. Okay. Where's John Lithgow from? John Lithgow is from Rochester, New York. Okay, we're going to play a game real fast. I'm going to go on Yelp. How many British pubs / eateries do you think are in Rochester, New York? I'm going to set the bar at 7. Do you think over or under? How British is Rochester?
I'm going to go over.
Rochester, New York?
I'm going to go over. I think Rochester's a big enough place that there's more than 7.
Well, I'll just say under.
Okay, let's go.
Oh, I thought you had the number already.
No. This is podcasting's a visual medium. Okay, I'll count that. The Sheffield. Okay, 5. That doesn't count. That's just a brewery.
Whew, thank God.
Murphy's Law Irish Pub. That counts. That doesn't count.
Hey, you said British.
Oh, that's true. I'm sorry. That got on a technicality. The answer was 5. 5. Ooh. So we have the Old Toad, Turkett's Tap Room, the Sheffield. Also, love when Sheffield United, real club, plays Lithgow United. Sager Stoneyard Pub, and we did not count Murphy's Law Irish Pub, so there are 5. So Lithgow, you got some work to do. Start opening up Dumbledore pubs in Rochester, New York.
There was the one that oh gosh, I hardly remember any Harry Potter. What's the one that his brother, Dumbledore's brother, he
Hogshead?
worked at or something? Yeah, I should have known that. It said Universal. Aberforth. That's the
Aberforth,
brother's
yeah.
name.
That is a fact that all three of us knew, and I am going to pretend like I knew that.
It's in there somewhere.
It's in the books. I've never read the books.
Yeah.
I need to.
Send
But do
me all
I?
your Harry
Yeah,
Potter
at
trivia.
this
I
point,
promise you
yeah.
I know it.
Yeah. So, kind of moving on real quick, I just wanted to bring up one last thing because it is the Central Florida Sportscast, and as much as we don't talk about their other teams in their city, we would be remiss not to mention the Tampa Bay Rays. Because spring training has started, Orlando doesn't have a baseball team yet. But I want to hold out hope that one day we will have baseball in the City Beautiful in any form that could consist of. I don't care if it's the Rays. I don't care if it's the Rays AAA team. I would just love to see baseball in the City Beautiful. And I have been watching a lot of spring training baseball the last few days. The Tampa Bay Rays look pretty good. They got some exciting prospects coming up through the pipeline. I wanted to bring up one guy. I know we have brought him up in the past. I'm looking up his name because I should have had that handy. But he is the only player for StatCast to ever give a 90 speed rating for. Which is unheard of. I mean, he is a great outfielder defensively, and he just steals bases. Let me look up his name real quick because I think he has a real shot at just being like Chandler Simpson. That's his name. Stole 104 bases last year, which is absolutely unreal. He is the first person in the minor league to steal 100 bases since 2012. If he played a full 162 games season, he would have averaged 143 stolen bases, and he steals bases 87. He is successful 87% of the time. And like his whole game is just hitting singles and stealing second, and then stealing third, and then scoring on sac flies. And that sounds like the most Tampa Bay Rays, we're gonna beat you in the aggregate ass thing to ever happen, is just fill your lineup. I am just imagining that the Tampa Bay Rays scouting department is up in their little nerd rooms with like one light bulb hanging from the ceiling because the Rays refuse to give them any more electricity. And they're just like, all right, here's what we're going to do, guys. Every other player is just going to be a slap hitter, and they're going to hit singles. And every other player just hits deep pop-ups. We don't need them to hit, they don't have to actually get a hit. They just need to hit a deep pop-up. And we're going to have these slap hitters get on base, steal second, steal third, and they're going to score on sacrifice flies. And we're just going to do that for the entire year and score 3 runs every inning. And it feels so Tampa Bay Rays for this fucking unknown prospect to just pop out of nowhere and just lead the league in stolen bases. And I think it's such an exciting time for the Tampa Bay Rays because there is so much unknown. And I think it just perfectly encapsulates what the franchise is right now, which is just unknown.
There have been rumors and this is not like a new rumor, but there's rumors that Stu Steinberg, who is the owner of the Tampa Bay Rays, is looking to sell the team. It's looking more and more likely that the team will not have the money to make the bonds meeting that's happening later this year. And for those that don't know, there was like a whole thing that they had bonds and they had a certain amount of money that was supposed to be like brought up that the team was supposed to have, but that money grew because they delayed the vote because there was a gigantic hurricane that destroyed the Trop that everybody knows, and the team is saying, well, you delayed the vote. Well, yeah, we delayed the vote because there was a natural disaster that occurred, and obviously there's like semantics being played on both sides, some tough, but it looks like the owner of the Rays is looking to sell the team. Whether that be to someone here in Orlando, that's probably not very likely at this point. It's most likely to another group in the Tampa Bay area, but if that group does end up purchasing the Rays, they will then move the Rays out of St. Pete into Tampa Bay proper, which I think if we're not going to get a team in Orlando, that's my next thing that I would want. If they're not going to be in Orlando, at the very least, put them in Tampa.
I agree. I think, and I see it so often on like baseball subreddits and baseball message boards and all of the weird nerdy baseball places that I hang out with online, where they're like, well, why is attendance down? Why is attendance so bad for the Rays? And they say it like fucking shithead kids, like, no one's going to the Rays games. And I'm like, you don't understand how hard it is to get from Tampa to St. Pete. And they're like, it's only 30 minutes away. And I'm like, you're looking at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon on like a random ass Tuesday.
Right.
Look at 5 o'clock trying to get to a baseball game. Like, look at rush
you're on
hour.
That bridge.
And you're stuck on the
Terrible.
bridge forever, and it's just a nightmare, and it's just not a pleasant experience. And I think putting the team in Tampa would do so much for just driving the fan base.
You know what they need to do? They need to bring back those multi-purpose use stadiums. Put the baseball team in Raymond James. I miss seeing football highlights where players are just running through the dirt
Through the dirt
from the base path. The
like
infield.
the Miami Marlins playing in the
Yeah,
Dolphins' old
Miami,
stadium.
Oakland.
Oh God, Oakland, the Sacramento A's.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. But it just goes to show. I mean, I've heard some very strong rumors, Eduardo, that a Tampa-based group is stepping up to purchase the team. And by strong rumors, I saw one TikTok of a guy saying, "I heard rumors that." So
it's basically confirmed at this point.
It's basically confirmed.
The contracts are signed.
Reddit, we did it. So yeah, it just I think it's a really exciting time for Rays baseball. I don't think they're going to just, if we can talk on-field stuff, I don't think they're going to compete in the East. The Yankees are strong. The Orioles are strong. I think that they could compete for a wild card spot out of the East, but I think that they are just enough of an ankle biter team to really piss off the rest of the AL East.
Yeah, look, every season this happens, right? Every season we go, this team got stronger, this team got better, this team on paper should beat this team, specifically when it comes to the Rays. And every season, except for maybe last season, the Rays outperform whatever expectation is had of them. It happens every single time. And, I'm not, at this point, I can't even, I can't confidently tell you that, my gut, if I look at the paper right now, not my gut, but if I look at the paper right now, I could say, hey, yeah, I think, Adam, you're right. Like, the Rays are probably maybe, a wild card team. They're not going to win that many, as many games as they had been because, they lost some players and blah, blah, blah. But also, they could turn it all around and suddenly find 6 new star arms on the bullpen and then find one guy that hits crazy. They could do, they're the Rays, man. Like, we don't know what we don't know. And unfortunately, that's just how they work. And we'll find out as the season goes on. But I think the Rays are probably going to surprise a bunch of teams, especially because I think the Blue Jays are in self-destruct mode. I think they're going to blow up here pretty soon because it doesn't look like Vlad Jr. is going to sign a contract with them because he did not sign a contract extension this offseason, and it looks like the negotiations there are not going well. And I think the Blue Jays are going to end up blowing it all up. And so I think the AL East will be a little bit more open than it had been previously.
So I am looking at regular season wins for the Tampa Bay Rays through Hard Rock.
Uh-huh.
And they have them at 81.5.
I take the over. Take the over.
I think that, you know what? I'm going to take the over right now.
Take the over.
We don't condone sports gambling here on the Central Florida Sportscast. If you have a gambling problem, please call the Responsible Gaming Hotline, which you can find at 1-800-522-4700. Again, that's 1-800-522-4700.
Sounds good on speed dial.
Yeah. When I started betting on third tier Slovenian ping pong, I knew I had a problem. No, but I think that the Rays taking the Rays over on wins is kind of like when people bet the under on the Army Navy game, where it's like, oh, that's just gonna hit.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna hit every time. Like
Yeah.
you're just the Rays are gonna surprise some teams. And I think it's gonna be an exciting year. I think that we have a lot to look forward to here in Central Florida. And if either of you have any closing remarks on the week that just passed, or some things that you're looking forward to in the upcoming week.
Yeah, I'm ready to
Talking
stop
about-
being hurt by my sports teams.
Well, buckle up, baby.
Here we go. Orlando City has a game on Saturday.
When you were talking about that guy on Miami that was just like juking and doing the things to all the other players, it reminded me. My son and I went out into the backyard the other day, and he found a soccer ball that I had out back there, and then we started kind of kicking it around, and that was me with him. You never feel better about your skills as like a player than when you're playing against the 3-year-old, because every single like juke or move or little thing that I did, he fell for every single time. I felt so. I was like, man, I'm the best player ever.
It's like playing FIFA on like rookie mode, where you're just like drilling past him. He's like,
Yeah,
He got the
I
ball
have a
away
question
from me
then.
one time. I threw him a little shoulder so he could get
Yeah.
out of my way.
So the two of you are fathers, obviously.
Uh-huh.
As your kids are growing up, and I mean, obviously, Eduardo, we are already kind of getting a hint here, but if they do play any sports with you, are you gonna go easy on them, or is it just you're in it to win it?
I was not like a super sports kid. I was not into professional, like either like playing sports as a kid. I was very like I would like read a lot of books. I was not like it's been in my
God,
later
nerd.
years in life that I've become significantly more of a sports fan, and so I don't think I have it in me to like go hard. Like very quickly, he's gonna get better than me, and I'm not gonna be able to do this anymore. And so I'm just taking advantage of it while I have it now.
I grew up a very like sports kid. I played like travel baseball and played football in high school and ice hockey all throughout my entire life. And this didn't happen on an actual sports team, because I think what my dad did to me, he would have been arrested for if it happened in real life and not a video game. But I remember playing Ken Griffey Jr. baseball with him on the Nintendo 64.
Mhm.
He's a big was a big St. Louis Cardinals fan, and I remember him beating me like 80-something to nothing. And I remember I was young, like I was little, and I remember crying. I remember being like, why'd you do this? And he was just like, I'm
That's
sorry,
life, son.
you couldn't stop me. Like you just couldn't stop me, and I just kept scoring. I got away with it, and that's just what happened. And I remember like slowly, like every day I would say, like after he would come home from work, I would say like, do you want to play? And he would be like, okay, we'll sit down. And I remember slowly chipping away at his lead. And then I remember one day beating him, and then he was like, all right, I'm never playing this game again, but good job. And like I'm walking off, and I was just like, oh God. Like it was a real, like, I think there's a place for it. I don't know that I'm going to. I mean, my daughter is 10 months old right now, so who knows what kind of shenanigans I'm going to get into.
Pretty easy to
beating-
dunk on her.
Yeah, true. I mean, she's not even walking yet. I dribbled that soccer ball right around her. What's she going to do?
Just smile and laugh.
Just smile and laugh at me as
She
I
didn't
as I-
realize how badly she got embarrassed.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, she probably would have done a better job than Rodrigo Schlegel on that.
Oh.
She wouldn't have kicked the ball so far away. But no, I think it'd probably be a little bit of both. I'd like to think I would go a little easy on her. But who knows? She's still young. Thankfully, I have years to kind of make that plan. Danny, do you plan on? I know you have a niece in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Are you gonna go easy on her, or are you gonna absolutely demolish her in sports?
I don't know who's listening, so I better be careful with how I answer.
I'm sure.
I will-
I'm sure she doesn't have the podcast app downloaded on her smartphone, so I think
Okay,
you're
yeah.
safe.
Yeah, they only gave her a flip phone, so I don't think she can access that yet. Yeah, I'm gonna go hard on her. Yeah, I will not show her any mercy.
The good.
But that's give her something to motivate her, like you said. Every time we play whatever, and she can slowly chip
away at the lead.
And then, like your dad will be like, all right, that's it. You
That's
beat
it.
me. I'm done.
You beat me.
I'm not having fun anymore.
Yeah, this definitely isn't going to give you a complex where you're overly competitive at everything else in the rest of your life, moving on forward, and then you become a perfectionist, so you stop playing video games pretty much altogether because you hate the feeling of losing. Goodbye, son. And then he walked away. He walked away for a pack of cigarettes and never returned ever again. It was a beautiful story. No, but no, I think that's the beautiful thing about sports is such a bonding thing for all of us. As between the good times, the first 8 minutes of the Orlando City game, and the bad times, the other 82 minutes of the Orlando City game. But I think that's going to wrap it up here at the Central Florida Sportscast. You can find us on X, Twitter, Blue Sky, whatever social media platform you prefer. We are at CF Sportscast. You can find us and email us. You can tell us via email if you're going to go easy on any real or hypothetical children that you have. In terms of sports and competition at cfsportscast@gmail.com. I think that's going to wrap it up here at the Central Florida Sportscast. As always, I'm Adam.
I'm
Danny.
And I'm Eduardo.
I was like,
oh no! Oh God! We stuttered. We stuttered and made a mistake, like Rodrigo Schlegel. That's going to do it all here at the Central Florida Sportscast. Peace.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.